What's going on, everybody? I am back to break down the 6-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Excited to get into the breakdown. Nice little 6-gamer here on a Monday night, so should be a good one. Before we do, a few housekeeping notes, guys. If you are getting very serious about NBA DFS, I do offer an NBA DFS premium package over here on Patreon. Lots of people have been asking about it. Lots of people have joined recently, and lots of people have been happy about it. So if you are playing consistently every night in, night out, it is $19.99 a month. I think you're going to get your return on investment very quickly over there. And I'm also offering a holiday discount for only $1 if you want to hop in the Discord package. So check those out if you're interested. That's linked below in the description. And this video is sponsored by Parlay Play. If you're not familiar with Parlay Play, they are a player props format over here where they do offer football, NBA, hockey, boxing, etc. They'll have other sports as the seasons come around as well. You can head on over there today and use the code KJK003 to receive an instant match deposit up to $50. The easiest way to do that would be to go ahead and just click the link down below in the bio as well. Yesterday, I got to update this, but yesterday we were not able to hit our picks. Kristaps Porzingis got hurt, unfortunately. We went down, so our bankroll has climbed all the way back down, unfortunately, right down to where we started because we were in for the $25 pick. We got a little risky, so we're going to build that back up. If you've been tuning into the live streams, we'll be giving you some parlay play picks, starting with $10, playing throughout the season and ending up where we will. But if you do deposit today using that promo code, they will instantly match your first deposit up to $50. They will also give you a free $10 to play with in entries when you sign up today. So check them out, guys. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. As always, I'm going to give you the plays to get in the green, and let's do a little bit of a game-by-game breakdown. First game on the slate, we have Philly taking on Boston. We don't have any Vegas lines out for this one yet right now, and there's definitely a lot of injury news to monitor here. Andre Drummond is listed as out. Al Horford's listed as out. Shake Milton, Josh Richardson, Danny Green, Furkan Korkmaz is listed as questionable. George Niang's listed as questionable and out. Out, I should say. So yeah, there's a lot of injuries here. Looking at the active rosters on both sides, you can see as far as the guys that might be in tonight for the Sixers, we have Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. And then the bench has gotten really thin. So guys like Matisse Thybulle, Charles Bassey, Isaiah Joe are going to have to step up. And then on the Celtics side, Schroeder, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Robert Williams, if they are all ruled in, certainly going to have a lot of usage to go around. But like I said, Jason Tatum's listed as questionable. So if he's out, that's going to obviously give a big bump up to, mainly a Jaylen Brown and Aaron Nesmith could see more run, but obviously Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart are going to take on a lot more of a load, as well as Robert Williams. And if Dennis Schroeder's back, those guys are all going to be tremendous plays with a lot of responsibility. So we're certainly waiting on this injury news. That's going to be a big impact. Jason Tatum, the leading usage guy on the team. And the same can be said for Joel Embiid, listed as questionable. He didn't play Sunday, and the game was postponed. So if he's in tonight, he, once again, obviously going to be the top play on the Philadelphia side. He's going to take on all the usage. If he's out, once again, the top usage guy, going to give a big bump up to these other guys. Tobias Harris would get a big bump up. Seth Curry would get a big bump up in his usage. We'd be taking a harder look to a Tyrese Maxey if he is indeed in. So lots of injury news in this one. I'm certainly going to have to monitor it. The more guys that are out, obviously, the more usage to go around. And certainly be keeping your eyes on the active roster, monitoring that. Houston taking on Chicago is going to be the second game on the slate. Zach LaVine continues to be out in this one on the Chicago side. That's certainly going to be a big bump up in usage to his Chicago teammates. As far as a total in this game right now comes in with a total of a 223.5 over-under with an 8-point spread in favor of the Chicago Bulls. So Chicago is expected to win this one fairly easily, which is a little concerning when targeting the game. And if it's going to stay close, like I always say with these games, you're probably going to want to run it back with another guy on the Houston side, and the heaviest usage guy would be Christian Wood. So it makes a lot of sense to be getting Christian Wood in your lineups if you are getting Chicago exposure tonight. And if you're getting Chicago exposure, the obvious candidates are going to be DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Lonzo Ball. All three of these guys going to take a big bump up in usage with there being no Zach LaVine. I certainly do think that DeMar DeRozan is the preferred option, but Lonzo Ball, I think it's the biggest bump up as far as, him being the last guy in line overall in this offense as is. He's more of a playmaker. He doesn't really get a lot of shots. With Zach LaVine being out, I think his shot volume increases more, and therefore his upside increases more, obviously. So Lonzo Ball certainly going to be a much more intriguing option than he was when Zach LaVine was in. And we talked about Christian Wood. With Kevin Porter Jr. continuing to be out, Jayshawn Tate's going to continue to get a big bump up in usage. He's going to be an interesting option if this game stays close, and the same can be said for Eric Gordon. So it's really those three guys you can lock in on: Eric Gordon, Christian Wood, Jayshawn Tate. We saw Sagan really step up with there being no Christian Wood last two times out. He really hasn't done much. He's priced up now. I'm not too sure that I'm too interested in him. I think I'd much rather go down to like a Garrison Matthews, who's consistently playing in the mid-30s to upper 30s minutes and can shoot the 3-ball. And once again, if the game stays close, he's probably going to be adding some additional scoring to keep this thing close with an 8-point spread. So if you are having a lot of interest in the Chicago guys, running it back on the Houston side certainly does make sense. They're dealing with some injuries. Running it back with a Christian Wood, the highest usage guy on the team, I don't think that's a bad idea whatsoever. Oklahoma City taking on the Memphis Grizzlies as far as the total in this game. This game right now comes in with a total of a 211.5 over-under with a 9-point spread in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. Not a fast-paced game. Also a game that's expected to kind of blow out here, so a little bit scary. But yeah, Memphis expected to win this game pretty easily. So once again, I hate to keep repeating the same thing, but if you have exposure to the Memphis side, it probably makes sense to run it back with some main Oklahoma City guys. And who are those guys? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the top, obviously top usage guy in the offense. Josh Giddey's the second man up, so he's another guy you could be following it up with here. And as far as the other guys on OKC, you have Lou Dort, Darius Bazley. They're really going to be kind of the main core four here that's getting the most run, most amount of production. Darius Bazley would be the last guy that I would prioritize. He's not getting nearly as much run as these other guys, only about 24, mid-20s a game. So I would prioritize Lou Dort, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey if the game stays close. 1, 2, all three of those guys are probably going to have a big game, and then you can run it back on the other side with a Jaren Jackson Jr., a Dillon Brooks, a Desmond Bane, all three of which getting a lot of minutes, all three of which the main candidates really for usage. Dillon Brooks continues to be my favorite out of the bunch consistently because he doesn't really find himself in foul trouble as much as Jaren Jackson Jr. However, Dillon Brooks and Jaren Jackson Jr. I would say are definitely the top two options. Triple J just really needs to keep himself out of foul trouble, and he's not too good at doing that oftentimes, so it's a little bit risky playing him, but if you do and he's having big games, you definitely won't be... You know, he performs when he doesn't get in foul trouble is what I'm trying to say here. So, an intriguing option. Steven Adams continues to be underpriced for his new role. Really seeing a lot of minutes, 30s and above. The last few times out, 36, 27, and 37. He's only priced at $5K. Taking on his former team in the Oklahoma City Thunder. Maybe a little bit of a revenge narrative here. I don't really think that Steven Adams is much of a revenge narrative guy, but regardless, could be a good spot for him. Getting a decent amount of minutes in the rotation now. No issues with going to him whatsoever. Charlotte taking on Charlotte taking on Utah is going to be the next game on the slate as far as the total in this game. This game right now comes in with a 234.5 over-under, by far the highest total on the slate. The problem is it's a 12-point spread in favor of Utah. So Utah expected to kind of win this game fairly easily, which of course is a little bit scary. And for that reason, I wouldn't blame you if you don't really want to target this game too much. But once again, we're dealing with a lot of blowouts. We're going to talk about a lot of value in the Sacramento Golden State Warriors game coming up, so then we'll get to that. But some pay-up options. Donovan Mitchell at the top, 9.7. I had a lot of interest in him last time out because Mike Conley was being rested. With Mike Conley being back on this one, he may take a little bit of a hit. But they do get one of the best possible matchups you could ask for, taking on a Charlotte Hornets team that's been absolutely terrible defensively all season long. Looking at my defensive half-court and putbacks tool over here on Patreon, you can see that they're second to last in the league in points per possession rank allowed. So the Charlotte defense has not been good. The Charlotte team has been involved in a lot of high-scoring games. Anytime they're on the slate, it seems like their game is by far the highest total. They really push the pace to an extreme measure, especially with some of the totals being down on the season this year. So that's certainly worth noting. And, yeah, this game, it's really just going to be tough. You're going to have to determine whether it's going to be a blowout or not. If it's not going to be a blowout, once again, it's going to be the biggest, highest usage guy on the other side, probably having a big game in LaMelo Ball. So LaMelo Ball would make a lot of sense to be playing if I'm getting exposure to Utah. Utah is mostly healthy, though. Charlotte is mostly healthy now. Bridges returning now from injury. Oubre is still healthy. Terry Rozier's back. Gordon Hayward is in. PJ Washington has returned as well. So it's just getting a little bit difficult to be targeting this team. Gordon Hayward taking on his former team. There's a little bit of a revenge narrative for you if you want to buy into that. But PJ Washington continues to be priced the most reasonably in the mid-5K range. I certainly think that he could get there with limited playing time in comparison to some of these other guys. If the game does turn into a blowout, they're going to have a much harder time getting there. So it seems like all of these games, it's going to come down to whether they turn into blowouts or not and whether you play them right. Unfortunately, that's what this slate's boiling down to. So you're going to have to decide which games you think stay close, which games you don't stay close, and play minutes, play guys according to that, because you have to have guys get the full allotment minutes for the highest upside in the game. So obviously, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, both would be great options if the game stays close because they're in a tremendous matchup. Charlotte's been terrible defensively. If they get their full amount of run, they're going to be great options. I think they're great options as is. It's just, it would be really nice to know they're going to get their full run. Joe Ingles priced all the way down to 4K. Jordan Clarkson priced down to 5.2. Those two guys priced really cheap over here on DraftKings, and they could get there regardless of the blowout. So that's, once again, something that you could possibly be doing in your lineups and taking that approach in this game. If you don't think it's going to stay close, maybe play some of the cheaper guys rather than paying up. But you're going to have to kind of make your decision and stick with it because all these games have a big spread, and the next game does as well. Golden State Warriors taking on the Sacramento Kings. As far as the total in this game comes in with a 225 over-under, but it's a 13.5-point spread in favor of Golden State. Golden State expected to win very easily here. They are still dealing with many injuries. Wiggins out, Jordan Poole out, Klay Thompson continues to be out. Same can be said on the Sacramento side. Terrence Davis is out, Alex Len's out, David Mitchell's out. So I think this is a game that, regardless of the blowout status, I think I want to get some exposure to because these guys are kind of forced into some minutes. Gary Payton, Otto Porter, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala kind of coming back here, though I will say they're starting to get a little bit healthier, but I still have interest. Otto Porter Jr., I think specifically, is priced at a very friendly price tag over here on DraftKings at only 3.7, taking on a Sacramento squad that hasn't been good defensively all season long whatsoever. Looking at my defensive half-court and putbacks tool over here on Patreon, we can see that Sacramento is 27th in the league in points per possession rank. So they also are really struggling on the defensive side of things. If you'd like to go to an Otto Porter, I certainly think that makes some sense at his 3.7 price tag. And then you could be looking at some other guys on both sides. I mean, even though this game's expected to turn into a blowout, Halliburton's usage has been through the roof. His price tag really hasn't adjusted. He's put up high 40s to 50-plus DraftKings points, and he's still only 7K. He's going to be a tremendous play in this spot. I mean, the Golden State Warriors defense is #1 in the league, so that's a little bit scary. But the fact of the matter is this game's expected to have a decent pace, and they just don't really have anywhere else to go. So if you don't want to pay up, you think it's going to blow out, once again, you can go down to some cheaper guys. Maybe a Harrison Barnes, a Buddy Hield, both priced in the high 5K to low 6K range. Both too cheap for their roles. You know, Sacramento's really short-handed right now. They're going to need these guys to produce, so I like them. I like May 2 and Tristan Thompson. They're going to continue to see a lot of run and are priced in the mid to low 4K range. That's too cheap. So they're certainly interesting. Juan Toscano-Anderson, Gary Payton off the bench, certainly going to be interesting options as well. They become a little bit less interesting now because Draymond Green's back. Otto Porter Jr.'s back. Both those guys were out. So, once again, depending upon if you think it's going to turn into a blowout, maybe if you think it turns into a blowout, you go down to a Juan Toscano-Anderson at 4K, you go down to a Damian Lee at 3.8, maybe a Bielitsa at 3.6, a Jonathan Kuminga at 3.5. Those would kind of be the candidates to get run if this game does turn into a blowout. But the Sacramento side, you definitely know where those minutes are going. You can certainly lock in on targeting a bunch of those guys. San Antonio Spurs taking on the LA Clippers. Paul George is listed as questionable. He's missed the last 5 games. I feel like he's going to return in this one, but it's tough to tell. He just continues to be out. So keep your eyes on that news. Certainly big news. It's a 216.5 over-under with a 4.5-point spread in favor of the LA Clippers. So not exactly the fastest-paced game. We've talked about a lot of other faster-paced games. However, this is expected to be the closest game, which might pay off for you in your tournaments because, like I said, all these other games are expected to blow. It's a 4.5-point spread. Game's actually expected to stay close. If Paul George is in, he's going to be a tremendous option. If we do get confirmation that he's not limited, it was an elbow injury, so I don't know. I tend to think he's going to be a full go if he comes back. It's more of just a actual, banged up injury, so I think I would have interest in him. Reggie Jackson priced up to 7.6 now. If Paul George is back, becomes a lot less of an intriguing play. If Paul George continues to be out, his usage continues to be very high. Going to be an interesting play for sure. Same can be said for Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann. All these guys seeing a lot of minutes, a lot of usage. Luke Kennard, 39 minutes, 45 DraftKings points last time out. Terrence Mann got out there for 41 minutes, 33 DraftKings points. So you get the point. If there is no Paul George, all these guys are going to be viable options. Running back on the San Antonio Spurs side, you have Derek White, Jakob Poeltl, both priced in the mid-6K range, both priced very reasonably. These two guys definitely standing out to me. They just aren't seeing their price tags adjusted. They've had off games the last few times, but they've also had some really big games. And the fact of the matter is that 6'2 and 6'5, both those guys can absolutely blow away those price tags. So I do think that that's intriguing. DeJounte Murray priced up at 9.8 for good reason. Very good fantasy point producer, but is priced much more appropriately than those guys. So, it's pretty easy to be just locking those guys in my lineups, feeling pretty good about the upside. And then you have Keldon Johnson down here at 5'4", another guy you could be looking to in your tournament lineups, 38 and 36 DraftKings points, producing at a high rate the last 2 times out. Price tag has not been adjusted. And a riskier option, or 2 riskier options, would be Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker playing in the mid-20s, very good fantasy point producer. He's put up 37 and 30 the last 2 times out. That's really good stuff. And then Devin Vassell getting the start with no Doug McDermott, another guy you could possibly be looking to as well. But yeah, Lonnie Walker, definitely an intriguing play. And Nicholas Batum returning with no Paul George. He was limited last time out because he'd been out for quite some time, but only 25 minutes. I do think that we could see his minutes climb up more, so maybe he's a little bit of a sneakier option as well. Still priced at only 4.5 on DraftKings. Then taking a quick look over to FanDuel here as far as some of the top FanDuel options, looking at some pricing discrepancies. We've talked about a lot on this slate, but certainly still have a lot of interest in the Sacramento guys over here. They're certainly standing out. Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton at 7.7, standing out as a tremendous play to me over here once again, with the Sacramento squad being so short-handed. Jaren Jackson Jr. at 6.9 grades out as a great play. We talked about him being a great play, but the fact of the matter is he has to stay out of foul trouble. So I do think that he is a great play, but just keep in mind, it is a little bit risky because Jaren Jackson loves to hack people and get in foul trouble. So I love him from a projection aspect, but he's got to stay out there on the floor. And if he continues to foul, that is obviously going to be an issue. Lonzo Ball priced at 7.7 over here on FanDuel. We talked about him getting a bump up with there being no Zach LaVine. I do think that he's a pretty intriguing play over here on FanDuel. You get the points for the blocks and steals as well. He's very active with his hands, gets in the lanes, oftentimes can wind up with quite a few steals. You can see, 1 block, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 steal, 3 steals, 4 blocks, 3 steals, 2 blocks, etc. So Lonzo Ball is an intriguing option for me on FanDuel. And DeMar DeRozan, same thing at 8.9 with that big bump up. Christian Wood at 8.2. We talked about him. If you think that game's going to stay close in the Houston-Chicago game, I do think that he is a very good option. And I do like Jaylen Brown over here quite a bit as well, especially if there's no Jason Tatum. We talked about him. Jaylen Brown's price tag at 7.3 I think is too cheap as is. If you take Jason Tatum out of the equation, he's going to be an absolute smash play. So I have interest in him regardless, especially if there is no Jason Tatum. So there's a few guys on FanDuel. We kind of went over the whole slate, but a few guys that are maybe priced a little bit differently. Guys that I have some interest in. And that's my overall breakdown, guys. Before I let you guys go, though, of course, I got to give you my lock of the night. Let's get into it. And my lock of the night tonight is going to be Harrison Barnes. It seems like just yesterday that Harrison Barnes was my lock of the night, and he's going to be again. These prices have not been adjusted for him on either website. I don't understand it. Sacramento, very short-handed, going to be relying on him. Taking on his former team in the Golden State Warriors, I think there's going to be a little bit more motivation here. And like I said, putting up 0.95 DK points per minute on the season, putting up 0.91 FanDuel points per minute on the season, and he's only priced around the 6K range, playing in the mid-30s minutes. That's just too cheap. Get him in your lineups because he is my lock of the night. So there we go, guys. Harrison Barnes, get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please take a second to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. Go out and check out the sponsor of the program, Parlay Play, over here. Use the link down below in the description. Use code KJK003, and if you are getting serious about NBA DFS, go and check out the Patreon packages, link below in the description as well. The KJK DFS NBA package, the KJK DFS Discord package for only $1 all of the month of December. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.